to the United stand as Amad is back on grass. Could we see him feature very soon for Manchester United if we get through to the semi-final of the Europa League? Will he be able to play? Wow, we desperately need him. Big news, Onana, his agent has been at Carrington, and Fabrizio Romano has been speaking about a Saudi move. It looks like Onana is on his way out of Manchester United in the summer. Are we happy about that? How much money can we get from him? Who do we invest that into? And Ollie Watkins, would you want a swap deal with him for Marcus Rashford if it was on the table in the summer? And also, I mean, take it with a pinch of salt. I'm going to talk about this in a second, but it is news coming out that apparently Manchester United are eyeing up a bid for Morgan Rogers from Aston Villa as well. I mean, in my wildest dreams, we'd get Morgan Rogers at Manchester United. I mean, I want to be driving a Porsche tomorrow to the studio. I don't think I'll be doing it. But get your comments in down below. Let us know your thoughts and get into the show. I've put the 4-1 loss behind me. All focus is on Thursday, and we've got some good news coming out today, so let's get into it. First of all, let's get a little bit of a round of applause for the fact Amad is back on grass. Wow, do we need him? It does feel like you lose one, you gain one. Joshua Zirkzee is such a huge miss, but getting Amad back would be an absolute massive boost. It feels like one's gone, one's coming back. But you're looking at our forward options for the rest of the season. The Premier League's done, but you're looking at the Europa League. Cheeto isn't registered, so he can't play. You've only got Højlund, and then you've got Garnacho as forward options. That is it. Of course, you have Mason Mount, you have Kobbie Mainoo, but by definition, they are midfielders. We need as many attackers as we can get right now, and Amad is the best player in front of goal in our team. He's the only other player in the team that can get on the same level as Bruno Fernandes. It's absolutely fantastic to see him back on grass. So hopefully he can get through Thursday night, and then for the semi-final, he might be able to play a part, which could massive. Amad being back, let's put it this way, Amad being back could be the difference between us being in the Champions League next year or not being in the Champions League next year. That is how crucial he is. I truly believe if we had Amad playing in the derby against Man City at Old Trafford, we would have won that game because we did create chances. We just didn't have anyone to put the ball in the back of the net, and he is that difference in quality. Amad is that difference. So it's absolutely huge, Amad being back. And again, getting in the Champions League for next season could be the difference between Manchester United. I mean, it could set us back years not being in there. Absolute years. So Amad being back is crucial, and yeah, just very, very happy to see him back. Next up, Super Chat's already coming in. Robert McCormack said, Mark should buy you a Porsche. Robert, do you know what? I absolutely massively agree with you. Mark should buy me a Porsche. Let's get that going. Get Beth a Porsche. No, I'm joking. Let's run a poll actually on would you, because I'm going to come to this a bit later in the show. Let's run a poll on would you take a Marcus Rashford, Ollie Watkins swap deal if it was on the table in the summer? And Ray S says, we need Cunha. I think he is important. Oh, we do need Cunha. Whether we'll be able to get him is a different topic. We spoke about Cunha a lot, so put a pin in that conversation and we can come back to it. We've got different news to speak about on today's afternoon show, but absolutely, I would love Cunha. Yep, get the car emojis in the chat. Which Porsche would you like? I've got people lining up to buy me a Porsche here. Come on. I would love, what Porsche would I like? I would love a red one. When Manchester United, tell you what, when Manchester United win the Europa League, the United stand have to fund me with a red Porsche to drive around Manchester in celebrating it. How about that? Anyway, let's move on to the next bit of the show. And this is on Onana. Cue the comments on Onana. Cue them. Bring them in. But this news really did perk me up on this Monday morning / afternoon now that we're in. And it was breaking from the Sun earlier today, and there was pictures, so it's not as if it's one of them take it with a pinch of salt. There was literal pictures of Onana driving into Carrington with his agent. So the pictures were Onana arrived this morning to Manchester United training with his agent hours after being dropped from the Newcastle clash. So usually, you know, players will just drive into training. This morning, Onana arrived with his agent in his car. And now we know from yesterday's report from NBC with David Ornstein that Onana's agency switch was to help him land a bumper new contract at Manchester United, but now it could be to seek a move away to another club. Andre Onana earlier this season appointed a new agency. Now, this agency that he's got is very good in getting players moves to the Saudi Pro League, and he's basically specialised in deals in players going to the Saudi Pro League. He's got great relations over there, the agent that Andre Onana now has. This is from David Ornstein from The Athletic as well. So, then it comes in a little bit later, just after we've seen the pictures of Andre Onana with his agent, who's got good connections to the Saudi Pro League, going into Carrington hours after he's been dropped, after speculation around his future, after we've also been told in recent months that Amorim wants a new keeper in the summer, a new keeper is going to be a priority. It comes out from Fabrizio Romano, another Tier 1 source, that several clubs in the Saudi Pro League are still interested in Andre Onana. The interest is strong, and that could be a strong possibility this summer. Now, it's not coming from Tier Z, it's not coming from Tier Z, it's coming from Tier 1. David Ornstein and Fabrizio Romano. David Ornstein saying he switched his agent, and then Fabrizio Romano saying there is strong links from Andre Onana to the Saudi Pro League, and there's strong interest there, and it could be a strong possibility this summer. That is good news for Manchester United, because honestly, I was thinking to myself, how on earth are we going to be able to move Andre Onana on? Who's going to want to go for him? Who is going to want to go for him? And I was looking at it, he has most errors leading to goals in all competitions as well. Since the start of last season, no Premier League goalkeeper has made more errors leading to goals than Andre Onana in all competitions, and that has been 8. So I was thinking, who's going to take him? We paid around 40 million quid for Andre Onana. His book value is still around 28 million. I was speaking to a journalist over in Lyon on the way home, and they were telling me that we've still got £17 million left to pay on the fee that we paid for Andre Onana to Inter Milan. So we've still got 17 million to pay Inter Milan for Andre Onana, and we want to get rid of him. So everything added up together, I was thinking, right, Amorim wants to get rid of Onana. We know that. I've known it for months. I've known for months that Amorim wants a new number 1 in the summer. But I just thought it was going to be Bayindir that gets moved on, and Andre Onana is going to have to be the second keeper, because we owe money for him still, because he's on quite a decent wage, and because his contract's pretty big, and because we paid a hefty amount for him, he's going to end up lingering around because no one's going to want to go for him. The Saudi Pro League now have strong interest, and his agency works well with the Saudi Pro League and is renowned for getting them deals done. That looks good for Manchester United. That is a bit of a get out of jail free card. Now, get in the comments down below, how much do you reckon we could even get for Andre Onana? At this point, I'd be happy to take a loss. And I know United might not want to do that. People in our group chat, in the United Stand group chat, were saying, could we get 30 to 40 million for him? I thought, we'd be absolutely lucky. We'd be lucky to get that amount of money for him. His book value is around 28 million now, so to get 30 would be fantastic to just kind of write it off. And it's a shame it didn't work out, but it's not. And sometimes you've just got to hold your hands up and say, we misprofiled you for the team that for the team that we have, and it didn't work. Wish you all the best. Onana will be on a good pay packet over in Saudi, and hopefully, has a good end to the rest of his career. Apparently he's a nice guy. It's just not worked out in Manchester United, and that is okay. Well, it's not okay. It's not okay for now, because it's cost us. It's cost us a lot. But this is where instead of just keep going on about how much, we shouldn't have done this and we should have done that, we just need to get it sorted. And Andre Onana isn't good enough to be the starting goalkeeper for Manchester United. And if Saudi Arabia are willing to pay us some money to take Andre Onana in the summer, that'd be absolutely brilliant for us. And hopefully all them trips over to Saudi and getting absolutely nothing back in return from John Murtough, building some sort of connection, can help us out here. Long gone are the days where Saudi pay huge money for bang average players, by the way. Do you remember when Fabinho went there from Liverpool? And Fabinho was a brilliant midfielder for Liverpool, but when he went, he was over the hill. And they paid around 45 million for him at the time. And I remember then Alex Telles got linked from United, and we thought, we're gonna get loads of money from Alex Telles. I think they paid us around £5 to £10 million. He was very low. but we were just happy to get rid of Alex Telles. But they don't do that anymore. Saudi Pro League, they went and got John Duran. They're writing up a £300 million transfer for Vinicius Jr. in the summer. Whether they pulled that off, I mean, I wouldn't write them off. I honestly wouldn't write them off. They're not going to massively overpay for Onana. You're not going to get to the summer transfer window and it's like, Saudi's knocking on the door, we're going to go and pay you 60, 70 million for Onana. They're not stupid people. They're very intelligent people. They're trying to build out a league. Andre Onana would suit their league, the slower pace from it, because he does have attributes that can suit their league. I think they'll pay a reasonable price, but they won't pay over the odds. But I think Manchester United, United fans and Amorim, and probably Onana himself, are willing to come to some sort of compromise on that deal. And if we can get his book value of 28 million, that would be absolutely fantastic. Already seen the chat saying, Beth, remember you were all for Onana. Right, I've addressed this so many times. Can a girl not make a mistake? Can a girl not make a mistake? I remember all you guys saying we need to get Rasmus Højlund over Harry Kane. We need to get Rasmus Højlund over Victor Osimhen. The polls were being ran in the community in the summer and everyone was saying, let's get Rasmus Højlund over, Harry Kane and experienced strikers. I remember it. And they won on the United stand. So can people not make mistakes? Can people not make mistakes? Surely they can. And I still stand by my opinion at the time that I think we were right to move on to a new goalkeeper. We just recruited the wrong goalkeeper. And if everyone actually remembers, my top two that I was talking about were Raya and Costa. I actually don't want Costa anymore, by the way, the more I've looked at him. I think he's got too many mistakes in him as well. David Raya was one of my top ones and everyone was going in for me for that. When we got linked to Andre Onana, hands up, I did say I wanted him because I watched him for Inter Milan and thought he looked very, very good. I thought he looked like exactly what we need. His distribution was fantastic. I thought, yeah. But in hindsight, was I wrong? Yes, I was wrong to go for Onana. Onana was the wrong player. But I don't think I was wrong to move on at the time. We just got the wrong replacement. We didn't get the right guy in. It's like when Pep Guardiola came in, for his style of play, he moved on Joe Hart. Bravo was a disaster. But City didn't go back and say, oh, let's go back in time. They moved on and they got someone who complemented the Pep style of play perfectly. And they went and got Ederson. They realised they made a mistake getting Bravo. They went and got Ederson and it's the best thing that they did. So, and do you know what? Andre Onana, by the way, we've gone in on him a lot at the start of the show and, he's made a lot of errors. He's cost us Champions League when we're with Ten Hag. He's half cost us in the Europa League. Thankfully, we've got Old Trafford to put it right on Thursday night. And he's made so many mistakes. Most errors out of Premier League goalkeepers leading to goals. You can't excuse it. But I do think we just completely misprofiled him. His strength is when he's got time on the ball, playing out from the back. We've not given him that at all. And I also think, the Premier League, you barely get any time. Him going to the Saudi Pro League, he's going to have that time. It's going to play to his strengths. He's probably not going to have to use shot stopping, which is crazy because that's like the main strength for a keeper, as much as he's had to do at Manchester United. And we brought him into a team to do a job, and the job that we thought he was going to do, we didn't do it at all. We continued playing the same way and it didn't suit him. And to round up the point, Andre Onana came into an environment in Manchester United that didn't suit his strengths, but at the same time, we brought in a goalkeeper who wasn't right for the club and couldn't fit what we wanted to do. And we just kind of got to take that. And Erik ten Hag was a big part of getting Andre Onana in, and we shouldn't have done it. But we've got to move on from that, and hopefully Saudi will buy him in the summer. And it does look like he is going to go. So at least there's a little bit of silver lining there that we might be able to move him on, because I think most United fans thought there was no chance that anyone was going to come in for Onana after the headlines he's got and after the clangers he's dropped. But thankfully, we might be able to move him on in Saudi. And I think that is the rainbow coming over the dark clouds, that we actually might be able to make up for that error that we made. Can't make up for what's happened, but we can move on to a goalkeeper that suits the way Amorim wants to play. Who that may be, get your comments in down below. I know nobody will want to hear my recommendations on goalkeepers anymore, and I completely understand that. But I really like Lunin from Real Madrid. He's proved he can handle a massive club in Real Madrid when he stepped in for Courtois when Courtois was unavailable. He's a good keeper. He's experienced. How old is he? I think he's 27-ish, and he's not going to get swallowed up by the pressure of Manchester United. He's 26, so he's still got years in him. And even though he's at Real Madrid, he'd probably want to be a first-choice goalkeeper somewhere. I would love to go for him. I don't know how much he would be, but I think he ticks a lot of boxes of what Manchester United need, proven as well. Harry Stevens, thank you for your super chat. Robert McCormack says, spot on, Beth. Thank you, Robert. Can always count on your support in there. Dunny says, Beth, Thursday prediction, we winning, yes or no? Well, yeah, we're winning. We're winning on Thursday. And it's going to serve me no purpose to not be optimistic. It helps me, it helps you, helps all of our mental healths to just be optimistic going into this game on Thursday. So yeah, I'm going to say that we're going to win. Fred Flintstone says, I think you guys missed the plot yesterday. It felt like you've blamed Højlund for a 4-1 loss. 3 out of 4 goals were defensive mistakes. Mount was a letdown. Nobody blamed Højlund for a 4-1 loss at all. We spoke about the game, and I think we said that it felt like we went down to 10 men when Xerxes came off, because I just don't think Højlund offers an outlet at all. But of course he wasn't at fault for the defensive mistakes. But when you don't have an out ball, you are constantly being peppered, and it is a contributing factor, but nowhere near was it his fault. Any other chats coming in? Michael Pitchford says, we are only human, Beth. People do and will make mistakes or change opinions. Don't worry about it. Exactly. It's like people can never change an opinion or never change their mind as well. Class of 99 says, when is Ruben putting in the goalkeeper coach? Honestly, he'd probably do a better job. Wouldn't he? Do you remember that when he made that comment? I mean, speaking about Marcus Rashford, Rashford is starting ahead of Ollie Watkins at Villa. So keep voting on that poll. I'm going to come to it in a second. But there's been more news about Aston Villa. And this is the news that's coming out. Manchester United reportedly plan to do everything possible to land Aston Villa star Morgan Rogers in a £69 million raid this summer. Rogers has been a standout performer for this Villa team, and just over a year ago, the attacker was playing in the Championship with Middlesbrough. The England international starred for Villa this season, scoring 14 goals and registering 12 assists in all competitions. However, Rogers has been identified by Ruben Amorim as a key enforcement for his project, that he can play as an attacking midfielder and a winger and would be a great option for Manchester United in their advanced number 10 roles. The Red Devils are said to be willing to do everything possible to take the key man to Old Trafford. It is reported that they have launched a £69 million bid for the Villa star, but the report states that he is currently considered untouchable by Unai Emery, and other outlets of late have suggested the same, that Morgan Rogers is not for sale by Aston Villa. Let me unpack this. I would absolutely love Morgan Rogers at Manchester United. I think he's exactly what we need for one of them number 10 roles. He's a ball carrier. He's technically good on the ball. I think he's one of them players that actually hasn't had the individual flair coached out of him. He has flair. He brings magic, I think, to the pitch in his style of play. And he's a grafter. He works extremely hard. I think he ticks near enough every single box you want for a Manchester United player. When you talk about a United player, a lot of you guys will get this. When you see someone, you think they're a United player. I look at Morgan Rogers and I think, you're a United player. I think he ticks all them boxes, and I think he'd be absolutely fantastic in one of the number 10s for Ruben Amorim, especially his ball carrying ability. We lack that massively in this squad. I think he brings a lot of attributes that we don't currently have in our squad. I think he'd be great. He's a great age as well. How old's Morgan Rogers? Is he 22, 23, 24? He is 22 years old. However, first of all, I don't think we have the money to spend £69 million on him. Second of all, I don't think Villa would let him go for as low as £69 million. I think they'd probably want around £100 million for him. Third of all, why would he leave Villa, who potentially might have Champions League football and are way higher up in the table than Manchester United? 4, I do think Unai Emery sees him as untouchable. Therefore, I don't think Villa would be very willing to sell him. And 5, we should have been going after this player when he was at Middlesbrough. Again, we're too late to the bandwagon. I get it. Sometimes players aren't ready. They have to go off and they have to develop. He's spoken in interviews openly himself, saying he found it really hard to break into the team at City and he needed to go away, he needed to develop, he wasn't ready. Morgan Rogers has spoken about that. So sometimes players do need loans, they do need to take the next step, they do need the next chapter. Elanga at Manchester United wasn't performing at the levels he is now doing at Nottingham Forest. Sometimes you need that time away to go and do that, and Morgan Rogers needed that time at Middlesbrough, but we should have been in for him last summer. And that's what we need to start doing with our recruitment, because Morgan Rogers isn't the last of his kind. You know, there's not ever going to be another player that is recruited from the Championship that then tears up the Premier League and is fantastic. He's not the last. He's not the first, and he won't be the last. Manchester United, of course, we need to bring in experienced players that we know are going to make an impact, like a Cunha, like a Rogers, someone like that, like an Mbeumo, someone like that. But we have to be a step ahead of the game, a step ahead of the curve. We've got to be getting these players before they, you know, kind of catch fire and suddenly pop off and go massive and their price tag elevates. We've got to go for these players before they hit that point where they then become a 70, 80, 90, 100 million pound player. Because how much did Rodgers actually go to Aston Villa for? I'd love to know. How much did Villa pay for Morgan Rogers? So the 22-year-old has enjoyed a rapid rise at Villa since joining from Middlesbrough in January 2024, in a deal worth an initial 8 million, raising to 15 million with add-ons. So say he reaches the add-ons, which I assume he probably is going to, 15 million for Morgan Rogers. Why is United not doing that recruitment? Like, why are they not? And it's not even just that. I think Villa have made some fantastic loan deals happen in January. Marlon, Asensio, even Rashford's made an impact for them. We keep getting told United can't do anything in the January transfer window because we don't have enough money. We spend all our money in the summer. That's our opportunity to buy. Look at the impact that the business Villa have done in January has had on the rest of their season. They might miss out on Champions League, they might get it. It's very close in the table right now. But they've done everything they can to try and boost themselves. What I will say on the Morgan Rogers front is that if Villa do miss out on Champions League football, they might have to sell for FFP reasons. However, I don't think Rogers is going to be the player that they're looking to sell. I really don't. And that's why I look towards the Watkins situation, and we'll speak about more of that in a second. I think Morgan Rogers will be one of the last players that would be on the for sale list. However, Aston Villa, they are up against it, FFP and financially. Hopefully, well, for them, hopefully, if they get into the Champions League, they will avoid that the finances pressing on them and having to sell assets. But FFP does do this to clubs, and they might have to look. And this is why I don't think you can bank on them buying Rashford, because it is tight up there at the top of the Premier League, and they might not get Champions League football, and it might put them in a little bit of a precarious situation financially. I would keep an eye on Morgan Rogers, but I think also a main takeaway is Morgan Rogers going to want to go to Manchester United? I mean, you could end up in a world where United have Champions League football next season and Villa don't. If we win the Europa League and Aston Villa miss out, I don't think they're going to turn it around against PSG. So I think they'll go out of the Champions League. And if you look at the Premier League right now, I think Newcastle probably look most likely to get it. I'm looking at the Premier League table. So Villa currently sit in 7th on 54 points. Chelsea 6th on 54 points. City in 5th, which we know will get Champions League football, in 55 points. And Newcastle 4th, 56. Forest 3rd, 57. It is super, super, super close there. Newcastle do have a game in hand. So I think Newcastle probably look in the strongest position. They're in the strongest amount of form right now. They're off that buzz of winning the Carabao Cup. I don't think Forest will drop out. City's fixtures look relatively easy going into the last, fixtures of the Premier League season. I don't know if Villa will get Champions League. We'll see. We'll see. Ghosty said Villa doesn't have FFP issues. They don't have glaringly obvious FFP issues, but they're not running away with money. And in the past, remember when they had to sell Douglas Luiz to Juventus because just to kind of give themselves money to play with in the transfer window, because they'll want to recruit and develop their team as well. But Morgan Rogers, I don't think will be up for sale. To put it bluntly, I don't think Morgan Rogers will be up for sale, because why would they sell their biggest asset, who is 22, when they're trying to build up to be a team that's consistently in the Champions League? I just don't think they will. And I don't think Manchester United, of all people, can afford what Villa would want. So as much as I do see Rogers as an absolutely brilliant player, that would be fantastic for Manchester United. And the Manchester United of old would have gone and got this sort of player. They would have. But we're not in that spot anymore. And I would file this Rodgers story into dreamland territory, and I just don't think it is going to happen. Lewis Jackson says, but I want Rodgers, Beth. A lot of we believe in Amorim in the chat. I mean, if Amorim can convince Rodgers to come, then fair play to the guy, but it's just not going to happen, because I don't think we're going to be able to pay the money that Villa would actually want. 69 million isn't actually that expensive for a player of Rodgers' quality, by the way. Cunha is going to be 62 with his release clause, but I think Cunha is way more gettable, because obviously he's got that release clause. Wolves know they're going to lose him, and Cunha is actively looking for a move away. Villa are in a much better spot than Wolves. They are on a rebuild upwards trajectory with Unai Emery. They have been in the Champions League. They look like they're building a good team that is destined for success. It's a different kettle of fish. Just out of interest, though, I'll run this poll actually as well. Let me just see what the poll is saying on would you take a Rashford Watkins swap deal. I currently can't see the results, so if someone can tell me, that would be great. Can't currently see it. Okay, so 74% of you say you would take a Rashford Watkins swap deal. Let's run a poll on, would you rather get Cunha or Morgan Rogers? I'd be interested to know what you guys think. Cunha is way more likely. And I even think with Cunha, I think we're going to struggle. Because as soon as it gets to the start of the transfer window, teams that have money can go and trigger that release clause and start, trying to put a contract together for Cunha. United are going to be waiting on the sales of Sancho, Rashford, Anthony, potentially a Garnacho. So someone might move for Cunha before we can even get our hands on him. There's Mark's spoken about before, the same thing that happened with Michael Elise. We wanted Elise, but Bayern Munich were in there way quicker than we potentially could ever would be. And they can offer more to Elise, and it was a better move for Elise. Look at where United are this year, and look at where Bayern Munich are. Teams might be able to beat us to Cunha because of what they can offer and how quick they can move in the transfer window. So Cunha's more likely than Rodgers, but both of them would be tough. I think Rodgers is just out of the question, but Cunha is going to be tough. I would want him. I would massively want him. But I don't think it's as nailed on as a lot of people are talking about. But I would, interestingly, like to see if there was a choice who you would go for, Cunha or Rodgers, just because I'd like to know who people would prefer if you did have the option. If you could say you're signing for Manchester United today, who would you go for if you could pick? Simply Red says, who has been worse, Onana or Rasmus? Onana at the back or Rasmus at the front? I think they've both been poor. Both been very, very poor, to be honest with you. Ian Tracy says, we were right to let David go. We were right to let David go. The mistake was who we replaced him with. At the time, Onana looked like a good signing. It just hasn't worked out. Ian, I'm with you on that one. I'm absolutely with you on that one. Class of 99 says, when is Ruben putting the goalkeeping coach in? I have done that. Quickly, while you're voting on the Cunha or Rodgers poll, and I've just seen Rufus say Cunha's more likely to join Newcastle. See, I was about to quickly jump back and say, no way. No way he's more likely to join Newcastle. But then I look at Newcastle yesterday against United, and they're a way better team than us. they're way ahead of us in terms of quality, squad depth. They're on the up. Probably going to be in the Champions League next year. Basically, United's transfer hopes and trying to pull players in does massively depend on winning the Europa League. However, Ben Jacobs did put a report out last week that Cunha would be more attracted to joining Manchester United than Newcastle. So United, it's slowly being dampened, but we still do have with the Man United sort of pull. We do have it slightly, but it is going year after year after year. It is going. But we do have that pull. United still have it, but the worse we get, and as the longer it goes on, the more dampened it is becoming, and we're not going to be able to use that pull as much in the future. Every single year it loses its value. But last but not least, to kind of wrap up the show. So we spoke about Rodgers and how it would be a dream player for United to bring in, but I don't think it's going to happen. Ollie Watkins. Would you take a Watkins-Rashford swap? And the reason I say this, it's not been widely reported on yet. It might be. And 76% of you said that you would. Rashford started as striker over Watkins against PSG. Now, that's a big call from Unai Emery. Is it because Rashford's had previous success against PSG? Is it because Rashford has more Champions League experience and European experience than Ollie Watkins? I don't know. But he started ahead of Watkins, and that would have hurt Watkins. It's a huge tie away at the Parc des Princes. Watkins would have wanted to start that game. 1,000,000% would have wanted to start that game. Rashford starts ahead of him. You then go into Southampton in the Premier League. Rashford again starts ahead of Watkins at number 9. It might just be a tactical thing by Unai Emery. It might mean nothing. What I will say is Watkins did come on off the bench in the Southampton game and score. So, he's proven his worth there. But that if Villa do want to keep Marcus Rashford in the summer, Marcus Rashford's got a big wage that's probably going to be supplemented by us knocking money off the transfer fee that Villa pay if they do decide to go for him. If Unai Emery does like Rashford and he's played him up front the last couple of games, that could be something that they're looking at. Ollie Watkins to Manchester United could be on the table. I'm not saying it's definite. I'm not saying it's going to happen. But it could be an option that Manchester United do look at. Would you do it? Because Watkins might be looking at this thinking, hang on a second, you're starting Rashford over me up front in a really important game away at PSG. And now you're starting Rashford ahead of me as well in the Premier League. I've scored this many goals for you. Watkins has been really good for Unai Emery, and Unai Emery's been great for Watkins as well. Unai Emery has taken Watkins up levels. But he might be thinking, at his age, we might fancy a move. And Villa, again, when they're looking to maybe move players on if they need to, Watkins might come into the equation. He nearly went to Arsenal in January, but Duran got bought first by Al Nassr, so they couldn't afford to lose both. If they want to keep Rashford, Man United desperately need a striker. Would Watkins tick the boxes that you would want? My opinion on Watkins, and he's 29 by the way, Watkins, so he fits that experience bracket that you would want. My opinion on Watkins is I would take him over Rashford at United because I think he fits more of what we need and what we want, and he could fit that striker position. But he wouldn't be my first choice of a striker to bring in the summer, and that might be me being really fussy, especially when you look at the position United are in and how we can't score goals and how we have really poor options right now. But if we are going to bring in a striker, Watkins, as good as he is, and I think he's great for Villa, wouldn't be my first choice. However, I wouldn't say no. If you offered me a Watkins-Rashford swap, I would take it. But if I was just going to the striker market to bring a striker in, he wouldn't be my first choice. Reason being is, I think Watkins needs a lot of chances to score, and United don't create as many chances as we should do, or we don't create enough chances for the centre-forward. Maybe that's going to change when Ruben Amorim gets a pre-season and we get better players in playing in behind the striker. And I do think there is better options out there. However, Watkins is a fantastic striker and he's definitely better than what we have. But he wouldn't be my first choice to go for in the summer if I was picking. But if it meant that's how we get rid of Rashford, I would do it. And he's absolutely an upgrade on what we have. Absolutely an upgrade on what we have. Amir says we need great players in the next summer transfer window. G-Man says Cunha can play centre forward as well. He can. He's very versatile, but I wouldn't be playing him at striker in his number as the majority of the time. If he did come to Manchester United, he'd be playing in the 10 roles. But it's good to have someone versatile, 100%. Royal says you don't do swap deals with players that generate pure profit. That is a good point, but that is a really good point from a whole, because you'd lose the pure profit from Rashford. But also, is there going to be other teams coming to the table to buy Rashford, and how much are they going to offer? That's something you'd have to look at. Mass says Delap. It looks like Delap might be going to Chelsea, but we'll have to see. Again, I really do like Delap, but I think there's better out there. Watkins, would you rather have Delap or Watkins? I mean, these are two players that might not even be on the table for Manchester United in the summer. It's just, we're looking at options here and how you could do it. We've been linked to Delap because of his 30 million release clause, but it looks like Chelsea are going to pick up more steam than us on that deal, are going to get there first. Linked to Watkins because of the Rashford potentially going the other way. Is he someone you would want? When he's on fire, he's on fire. I still remember the goal we scored for England. It was fantastic. But he does need a lot of opportunities and he does miss a lot of chances. How patient would United fans be with him? And, you know, you look at his age profile and where he's at. Would you want him? But anyway, get your comments in on that. Last but not least, would you buy Cunha or Rodgers? What is the poll saying on that one? Hit a like on the video, by the way, while I'm waiting to see what the poll is on that. Hit a like on the video. It's Monday. We've got a huge week coming out, coming up for you guys with Manchester United and the Lyon game on Thursday. And all the build-up for that is going to be on the United stand. 77% of you say you'd rather have Cunha. Wow, that was absolutely huge. I thought it'd be way more 50-50 than that. I think Cunha's a fantastic player, but I also highly rate Rodgers. I wouldn't turn my nose up at either, to be honest with you. Cunha probably just has that little bit more of experience behind him, but Rodgers, again, is ticks all the boxes of what we need. Cunha's way more gettable, and I think that's what makes him more attractive as well. Way more gettable than Rodgers. But anyway, guys, get the comments down below. Do you think a Watkins-Rashford swap deal would be plausible? In the comments, most of you are saying you'd rather go for Watkins. I think I would as well, just because of his experience, he's been around the block. But Delap does show a lot of promise. Both of them, however, would not be, and it's crazy because we've currently got Højlund up front for us and we're nowhere near it, but both of them would not be my dream targets for the summer. But do Manchester United fans have to let go of their dream targets? I'm still holding out for Osimhen. I know Tull was talking about on the build-up show yesterday how he wants 300 grand a week and he's going to cost a lot in agent fees. But I just look at it and I'm like, Victor Osimhen. Like, I know it's in the Turkish league, but he's absolutely killing it. He's just scoring goals for fun. He's a beast. He's fantastic. That's who I want. Whether United can do it. And part of me thought this morning is, when I was watching Goldbridge's morning show, is if Chelsea do beat us to Delap, does that mean United might be forced into going for an Osimhen? And that might actually benefit us. But knowing Man United, we'd end up with, I don't know, someone we've never even heard of we'd probably end up with, I don't know, someone we've never even heard of from a random league and pay stupid over the odds for them because they're young and they've scored a few goals, God knows. But that's the guy I would want anyway. But I know it's very unlikely going to happen. Anyway, guys, that is the Monday show. I was going to only do a bit of 15-minute segment. We did 40 minutes. Wow. So much to talk about and so much to discuss. Summer transfer window is going to be huge. Fixing the spine is going to be huge. Number 10, striker, goalkeeper, maybe a midfielder as well. The spine of this team needs to be fixed. But looking ahead to Lyon, huge game coming up on Thursday. Get all your comments in down below, all your thoughts in. Hit a like on the video if you've not already. Enjoy the rest of your Monday, and I will see you on the next one.